Hello, Soden Bowl Network. It's your boy, Big Al. I'm back with the Huddle, episode 2. I hope you guys enjoyed the first one. I hope you enjoy this one. Let's talk a little bit about what's on my mind right now. And that's the Soden Bowl Sim League is figuring itself out. I mean, man, we are pumping right now. We got shows coming out. We got Alpha's Unfiltered episode 2 that just came out the other day. That's a great show. Check that out. If you haven't already, please check that out on the YouTube channel here. Follow us on the Twitter at Soden Bowl Sim LG. Check that out. You'll be able to find all of our latest and greatest content. I'm so happy to be back to be doing this again. I love doing podcasts. I love talking about the league. As Sean mentioned, I'm someone who is not playing currently in the league right now, which is probably like, what? What's this? What? You're not playing, but you're doing content for the league? Like, what is wrong with this guy? Yep, call it what you will. I call it what I like, so that's what I'm going to do. And Sean has given me that opportunity. So just a quick shout out to this guy. I mean, he does everything in his power to make sure that this is a league for all of us to enjoy, love, and play. So with that being said, I just ask that you respect the rules, you respect what's going on, and get your head in the game, get your stuff scheduled, do the content, earn those points, get your upgrades, because, you know, we do have the rewards program, stuff like that. We'll get into that a little bit later into the show. But, you know, just those things that make this league great. And also another thing about this gentleman is that he is a veteran. And if anyone knows me closely, they know that I'm a man of my country. I love it. And that's just the way it is. And I love our veterans. And I tell these men and women when I see them every day, no matter where I am, if they're in uniform or if they're wearing a veteran hat, tell them thank you. Because this is why we're able to do the things that we do. Because we have those people who stepped up and fought for our freedom and for our lives to do what we want to do, which is to play Madden and do silly things like podcasts in our downtime. So enough of that. Let me get off of that subject and back to the Soden Bowl Sim League. Man, this thing is great right now. We got a bunch of shows going on. Check out Alpha's Unfiltered. He just did his episode 2. Check us out on the Twitter at Soden Bowl Sim LG. Find our latest info there and everything like that. So we're going to get to it, man. We're going to get to the Huddle. I mean, this is something I came up with. It's something that's been on my mind that I wanted to do, that I wanted to bring back. And as Alpha touched on it earlier in his show in episode 2, I'm just fed up with Madden 19, man. It's just, I'm not feeling this game. And I am one of those ones in which Alpha mentioned that said this is probably one of the worst Maddens that we've had in a long time. And it's sad to say because I've been around this game a long time, man. I've been around this game since the PC days, like where we used to write down stats in a notebook and post them on like a notebook page and do stuff that way. I mean, I started out with, ironically, Tecmo Ball, which, you know, is, as you know, if you know Soden close, it's the Soden Bowl. It's you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so it started there, and then it became to Madden, you know, mostly the Genesis days when it hit there. You know, I played a little bit on the PlayStation, and then I moved over to the Xbox, and I've been on Xbox ever since. So I've purchased every single Madden game that there's ever been made. I played every single Madden game that's ever been out there, so just keep that in mind. I mean, that could be why I suck so bad, but anyway. You know, so I'm not feeling it. So the content's there. We'll see what happens for Madden 20. From what I'm hearing, there's some cool features that might be out there, but we're still, a couple weeks, maybe a month away from finding out any of the major juicy details in those features. But just a quick to talk on Alpha's show again. I mean, guys, check that out. I mean, just some of the notes that I've taken from the show that I wanted to highlight that made me laugh was his neighbor. The neighbor cutting the grass right as he's about to record. Doesn't that suck? Like, I mean, I've had that happen in the past a couple times where it's been dead ass hot up here and I had to open the window and my neighbor pulls the lawnmower as I'm 2 minutes into my recording. It's great. So, you know, the stuff we deal with to put this stuff out, but we do our best, man. And we appreciate you guys coming to the channel and looking at the show. And in this show, I brought some slides that we're going to show. I know the first one was just my ugly voice and nothing to look at other than a couple SL Soden Bowl Sim League icons that we had. But I tried to put some stuff together to make it more interesting for those guys that are going to look at the show or listen to it and look at it. So that's on board. So again, Alpha, thank you for the shout out in regards to me coming back to the Soden Bowl. I'm happy to be here. That's all I'm going to say about that. I think I stressed that in the first show. One other thing to talk about is blowing up the DMs. That's funny. Yeah, you're definitely not going to see any nudes, bro. That's not going to happen. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but who knows? Maybe, if I get drunk enough, things, whatever. I'm definitely coming out to Ohio to visit you, bro. You are the Ohio self of me, and I believe I am the Jersey self of you, as I called it in chat the other day when we spoke. One other thing before we get started here, I just want to talk back on Soden. With the battle of the Sodens versus the Ferreras. Dude, you got yourself, your wife, your brother, your cousin, probably some other siblings we don't know about. I mean, it's just, they're everywhere. It's the Soden Bowl Sim League. It's known as Soden Bowl. There's 1,200 of you and 2 of us. I thought that was funny, but again, shout out to you, man, for everything that you do. Today's show, what we're going to talk about on the Huddle Report is Soden Bowl Sim League Players of the Week, weeks 1 through 9. I just updated this last night. We have the MVP race. We're also going to talk about Coach of the Year, AFC NFC Yearly Awards race, and also the AFC NFC Rookie Awards race as well. So, without further ado, let's get this show started. Here we go with the Huddle, episode 2 on the Soden Bowl Network. All right, so I've chosen to speak about the Soden Bowl Sim League top players of the week, and I did this last night. I got weeks 1 through 9, so let's go ahead and talk about these guys. We'll do the NFC offense and defense, and then the AFC offense and defense as I go ahead and rip through these 1 through 9. So first up in week 1, the NFC offense shining bright was Cam Newton, the quarterback. He was 17 to 24, 414 yards, 6 passing touchdowns, 1 interception. He was sacked twice. He did have 4 carries, but unfortunately he was negative 6 yards with 1 fumble. On the defensive side of the ball was Hunter from the Minnesota Vikings. He had 7 tackles, 5 sacks, and 1 forced fumble. On the offensive side for the AFC East Player of the Week, week 1, was Coleman, the halfback from the Ravens. He had 18 carries, 223 yards, 2.9 rushing yards average on the ground. He had 3 rushing touchdowns and 4 receptions for 41 yards. He averaged 10.3 receptions average yards in that game as well. On the defensive side for the AFC was Brown from the Chargers at middle linebacker. He had 9 tackles, 3 interceptions, 1 of those interceptions for a touchdown. So go ahead to week 2 in the NFC on the offense from the Packers. Valdez Scantling, wide receiver, had 5 catches for 132 yards, 26.4 reception average, grabbed himself 3 touchdowns on the day. NFC defense was White from San Francisco at 4 tackles, 1 sack, and 4 interceptions. Big day for White in that San Francisco defense. AFC offense in week 2, Tom Brady, quarterback of the Patriots, getting it done, 27 of 37 for 319 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns. He did have 1 interception. He was sacked twice on the day, and he had 1 carry for negative 1 yards. On the defensive side for the AFC in week 2, you had Reed from the Houston Texans. The free safety had himself 7 tackles, 1 sack, 1 interception, which was a touchdown for Mr. Reed and the Texans defense. In week 3, we had Todd Gurley from the Rams on the NFC offense, 21 carries, 125 yards, 6 rushing yards on average. He had 1 rushing touchdown, 4 receptions for 43 yards. He averaged 10.8 reception yards, and he had 1 reception touchdown. Had himself a big day, Mr. Gurley in week 3. Defensive Kerrigan, left outside linebacker for the Skins, had 7 tackles, 5 of those tackles were sacks. On the AFC offense for Week 3, you had Logan, the halfback from the Raiders, who had 9 carries for 169 yards, 18.8 rushing yards average. He had 3 rushing touchdowns on the day, also had 5 receptions for 45 yards, 1 reception touchdown, and averaged just shy of 10 with 9 reception average yards on the day. Big day for Logan. AFC defense in Week 3 is Williams, the middle linebacker of the Steelers, had 5 tackles and 2 interceptions. Week 4 we go to Carson, the halfback of the Seahawks, 20 carries, 207 yards on the day, averaged 10.4 on the ground. He had 4 rushing touchdowns, 2 receptions for 23 yards, averaged 11.5 on his receptions on the day. On the defensive side was Hendrickson of the Saints, who plays left end. He had 6 tackles. 3 of those tackles were sacks. AFC offense in Week 4, Kyler Murray, quarterback of the Dolphins, the rookie, getting it done. 9 of 15, 230 yards passing, had 2 passing touchdowns. He was sacked 3 times on the day. However, he did have 5 carries for 63 rushing yards. 1 of those carries was a rushing touchdown. Defensively, in Week 4, we had the Jaguars, and Baker, the cornerback, had 3 tackles, 2 interceptions, and 1 of those interceptions was a touchdown. Week number 5, Matt Ryan, the quarterback of the Falcons, had 31 of 40 passing, 366 yards, had 4 passing touchdowns. He was sacked 3 times on the day. He had 3 carries for -3 rushing yards. Defensively for the NFC in Week 5 was White, again shows up on the list at middle linebacker at 7 tackles, 2 interceptions, 1 of those for a touchdown. AFC offense, halfback Jacobs of the Kansas City Chiefs had 16 carries, 266 yards. He averaged 16.6 rushing average with 3 rushing touchdowns. He also had 3 receptions on the day for 70 yards. He averaged 23.3 reception yards and 1 reception touchdown. Jacobs is having himself a season. We'll talk about that later. Another one of his teammates on defense in Week 5 was Ford, the left outside linebacker for the Chiefs. Get this, 5 tackles, 5 of them were sacks. In Week 6, player of the week for the NFC offense is Christian McCaffrey. The halfback had 5 carries for 110 rushing yards, 22 average on the ground, 2 rushing touchdowns, had 43 yards catching on 2 receptions. He averaged 21.5 yards receptions and 1 touchdown in the air for McCaffrey. On the defensive side was Campbell for the Falcons. Right outside linebacker, he had 3 interceptions. AFC offense in Week 6, Grant, halfback of Buffalo, 18 carries, 132 rushing yards, 7.3 rushing average. He had 3 rushing touchdowns, 2 receptions for 14 yards, averaged 7. Jones, strong safety of the Dolphins in Week 6 on the defense, 4 tackles, 1 sack, 2 interceptions. Big day for Jones and the Dolphins defense. In week number 7 of the players of the week, NFC offense, Russell Wilson, the quarterback, getting it done, 26 of 36, 295 passing yards and 4 touchdowns. Clean sheet for him on that day. Floyd, the left end of the Bears defense, had 4 tackles, 3 of them were sacks, and 1 forced fumble. Offensively, for the AFC, Lee, the wide receiver of the Jacksonville Jaguars, had 7 receptions, 273 reception yards, 39 on average, had 3 touchdowns on the day. Big day for Lee. Smith, the cornerback of the Ravens, had 3 tackles and 3 interceptions. Week number 8, the NFC offense and quarterback of the Bears, Trubinsky, was 12 of 15 for 271 yards passing, 4 passing touchdowns. He was sacked twice on the day. He did have 3 carries for 40 yards, and 1 of them was a touchdown. His partner in crime on the defensive side, Smith, the middle linebacker of the Bears, had 5 tackles, 2 interceptions, and 1 of them was a touchdown. Offensively, in the AFC, the quarterback, whose name I can't pronounce for some reason, Stidham, the quarterback of the Broncos, 31 of 33, 456 passing yards with 4 touchdowns, 1 sack, 3 carries for 10 yards. Defensively, in the AFC in Week 8, you had Willis, the left end, who had 5 tackles, which 3 of them were sacks. 1 was a forced fumble. Next up was Week 9. NFC offense, Gabriel, the wide receiver of the Bears, had 7 catches for 243 yards. He averaged 34.7 receptions and 2 reception touchdowns. His partner in crime on the other side of the ball, and also running in a front runner for a race we're going to talk about later, Khalil Mack, the right end of the Bears, had 5 tackles, which 5 were sacks. What a day for the Chicago Bears in Week 9. On the offensive side of the ball in the AFC, Connor, the halfback of the Steelers, had 11 carries for 111 yards. He averaged 10.1 rushing yards on the ground. He had 1 touchdown on the ground, 1 pass via air for 15 yards, which was, of course, an average of 15. He had that, which was a touchdown as well, a reception touchdown. Harris, on the Dolphins defense, the right end, had 5 tackles. 3 of those were sacks with 2 forced fumbles. That's going to take care of the SBSL top players of the week, counting weeks 1 through 9 here in Season 1. That last segment was sponsored by our allies at Allied Plumbing and Heat. Allied Plumbing and Heat, LLC, is located in the Colorado Springs area. If you're in the area, give these guys a call. It's a name you could trust. It's veteran-owned and operated. Check them out at alliedphllc.com. All right, next up is the MVP race here for the SBSL, currently through the first 9 weeks. Now, I took this list right from the league itself. We're just going to do a top 7 here, and to get through this is not as quickly as possible, but, you know, I'm trying to save some time. I don't want to be too long with it, but all right, so here we go. Here's the guys that we're going to talk about. You got Mack, Clark, Jacobs, Connor, Carr, Carson, and Elliott. Starting with Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack is number 1 on the list right now. This guy is a force. He's a phenomenon. Last year, he had 67 tackles, 28 sacks. Currently, right now, he's already at half of the tackles with 38, and he's going to probably surpass the sack record he set for himself with Chicago last year. He's at 21 right now. Moving on from that is Clark from the Seahawks. Clark is the right end. He has 27 tackles and 3 sacks last year, okay? This year, he's got 21 tackles and 17 sacks. Adding to that, 2 forced fumbles. Jacobs, the halfback out of Kansas City. This guy is a rookie, okay? He's got 131 attempts. He is shy of 900 yards by 1 yard. He's averaging 6.9 on the ground. His longest run of the year so far is 84 yards. He's got 10 touchdowns. Oh, and by the way, if he's on your fantasy football team, he's earned you 150 points so far this season. This man is probably going to get somewhere in the realm of 1,000 to 1,200 yards, is my guess, if not more. Moving on from that is Connor, the halfback from the Steelers. Last year, he had 141 attempts, 599 yards, okay? This year, 127 attempts, 818 yards. He's averaging 2.2 yards more a carry so far this season. He's also had a run of 60 yards at his longest than last season. He's already surpassed his touchdowns with 8. Last year, he had 7, and he's gained you 130 points on fantasy football. Anyways, moving on to the quarterback in Oakland or Las Vegas or wherever the hell they're at now, Derek Carr. He's got 151 completions on 251 attempts this year. He's 60%. He's got 2,624 yards. That's almost 500 and change more than last year already. He's averaging 10.5. He's got 20 touchdowns. However, he has been sacked 35 times, and he has thrown 12 interceptions. Okay, his rating right now is 102.5. Next up is Carson, which is the halfback from the Seahawks. Okay, this guy's been in the league for 2 years. Last year he had 293 attempts for 1,011 yards. He averaged 3.5. Okay, he did well. So far this year, he's got 91 attempts for 602. He's going to come close to that 1,000 mark again. I'm sure of it. He's averaging 6.6 average, and his longest run of the year has been 80 yards. He's already tied himself last year with 11 touchdowns. Last but not least on the list is another halfback. This guy's out in Dallas. Ezekiel Elliott, okay? Last year, 290 attempts for 1,691 yards, averaging 5.8, 14 touchdowns. He's not quite getting it there right now, but he's got 123 attempts, 606 yards, so he's about 1,000 and change short of what he's done last year, halfway through the season, so to speak. He's got 4.9 average right now. His longest is 56 yards. He's only got 8 touchdowns and only giving you 109 points fantasy-wise. So, but, I mean, don't count Dallas out. I mean, this team is, you know, they're top of the crop. You know what I'm saying? They're 8-1. So that takes care of the MVP race right now as we stand. Next up, we're going to talk about Coach of the Year. All right, as spoken about, as promised, Coach of the Year, as I just mentioned. This is the Soden Bowl Sim League Season 1 Coach of the Year award race. I got a top 8. I clipped these guys from the league details, so I hope you enjoyed them. Sorry if they look a little stupid or the colors aren't good, alpha, or you don't like the font. I'm sorry, but I just threw it together. Speaking of which, if you're someone who likes to do graphics and want to make graphics based on my topics and send it to me, and then I could bring your picture to life with my voice, we would have a maybe better graphic. Anyway, I do my best, so here we go. Let's break it down. Top 8. Here we go. Number 8, Jay Bueno. Head coach of the Steelers. He's 5-4 right now. He's doing an excellent job with those guys. Just above him is my buddy of mine, Coach J-Mo, at number 7. He's 6-3 with the Panthers. He's doing good things there, as we talked about his quarterback earlier in the Players of the Week. And then the leader at the helm, the one, the only, Sean Soden at number 6. He is coaching the Broncos at 6-3 right now. He is running through that division, making things happen, looking for a playoff run and possibly another Super Bowl appearance. Just above him, who we just heard on the last podcast that we had live on Thursday night, which you got to check that out every Thursday night. We have that live show hosted by our true leader, Sean Soden, and the Soden Bowl Network. Is Sean You're Blessed, also known as You're Blessed. He's 6-2. He's a tremendous owner, and from what I've learned through the league is that he is a legend here at the Soden Bowl. So shout out to You're Blessed at 6-2 at the number 5 spot. Number 4 is Luke Crossan, who's 5-4 with the Raiders. Now keep that in mind. It's the Raiders. He's 5-4. He's doing good things. We talked about some of his players on the list. Players of the week and the stats for MVP race and such like that. And Jay Bueno is also 5-4, so don't count these guys out at number 4 and number 8. So just because the record is 5-4, these guys played some tough opponents and will continue to be a tough opponent for others as well. So number 3, Duke Silver, the man himself, also known as AKA the Alpha Heel, number 7. Check him out on his podcast, episode 2, that just dropped the other day. If you haven't already, please do that. He is 7-2 and sits number 3 on the Coach of the Year award race right now as we stand in Week 9, as we are getting those games taken care of. So, number 3 for Alpha, he's 7-2. Just above him is Chuck Knox, which, let me just pause a sec, time out. This is probably one of my favorite coach names that I went through and looked at, to be honest. There's some other good ones too, don't get me wrong. I'll probably have some fun with that and a couple other episodes later down the road. Yes, I plan to do some more episodes if that's okay with you guys. But, all right, Chuck Knox, coach of the Seahawks, 7-2. This man is getting it done. He knows what he's doing. He's going to be a tough opponent. Make sure you scout this man, because if you don't, you're going to get burned. At number 1, Professor Tripp, 8-1. Number 1, coach of the Cowboys, Professor Tripp. Another legend in the Soden Bowl. He's had some battles here, and I'm sure he'll continue to have some battles. He sits 8-1 right now. He is at the top of the crop. He's probably number 1 in the rankings, which I haven't checked out, but I will. But so that takes care of it, guys. Soden Bowl Sim League Season 1 Coach of the Year award right now goes to these top 8 guys. Who is going to be number 1 by the end of the season? We will definitely check back on that. All right, now let's talk about the AFC yearly award race, and then we'll talk about the NFC yearly award race, which includes, of course, the offensive and defensive players of the year and the offensive and defensive rookies of the year. So in this next one, I'm going to start a little bit backwards in this case because of the way it sits. First on the list will be the defensive rookie of the year from the Colts, Julian Love. This guy is 21 years old. He's 5'11" out of Notre Dame. He currently has 22 tackles, 1 sack, and 5 interceptions, one of those for a touchdown. This kid's having himself a great season. Okay. Before that is D Ford. Okay. Ford from the Chiefs. I mean, this guy is dominating the league right now. I mean, this guy is in, his 5th year. He's 6'2". He's out of Auburn, if you remember that. 24 tackles right now, 15 sacks, which already has surpassed his record or his stats from last year, which was 8. He's got 3 forced fumbles. He's a force to be reckoned with. But his teammate on the other side of the ball, who's just taking over the Soden Bowl Sim League right now. I mean, this kid is doing it all. And that kid by the name of Josh Jacobs, the halfback with the Chiefs out of Alabama. This kid's 21 years old, 216 pounds, 5'10". He is also the offensive player of the year right now at the top of the list and the rookie offensive player of the year. Not to mention, he's also on the list for MVP. Okay? This kid's got 131 attempts, as we talked about earlier, 899 yards, averaging just shy of 7 carries a touch. Okay? Ripped an 84-yarder earlier this year. He's got 10 touchdowns, 150 fantasy points. I mean, wow. Wow. Right? Wow. All right, now we're going to get to the NFC yearly award race. And we'll do this one in order because of the way, Jacobs is just tearing through the league. I had to accommodate to him. Okay, so NFC, starting with the offensive player of the year at the top of the list, halfback Todd Gurley. Okay, he's in his 4th season. He's only 25 years old. He's 6'1", 227 out of Georgia. Okay, 129 attempts this year, 663 yards so far. All right, he's on pace. Okay, he's got 6 touchdowns, had 13 last year, had 1,759 yards on the ground, 288 attempts. He's got 102 points for you in fantasy right now. Next on my list, Khalil Mack. Okay, the defensive player of the year right now, sitting at the top of this list and one other list that's very important, the MVP, the very important list, the VIP, the MVP. Khalil Mack, 6'3", 252 pounds. He's 28 years old. He's in his 5th season. This guy's a monster. What the hell was Gruden thinking? Well, thank God that guy took over in Oakland. He's 4th on the coaching list, if you don't remember. Okay. Anyway, the Bears. Khalil Mack's got 38 tackles. He's got 21 sacks right now, guys. 21 sacks. That's 7 shy of last year. He still has half a season to go. He did have an interception last year, but he's tied himself with forced fumbles. I think he's going to surpass those records. And, 5 years in the league, 28 years old, still getting it done. He's still young, right? Let's go to the rookies. Tampa Bay, Hunter Renfrow, Offensive Player of the Year right now for the rookies. Okay, this guy, 5'11", 180 pounds, 23 years young, rookie out of Clemson, 25 receptions, 420 yards, averaging 16.8 per catch. 67 is his longest. He's got 5 touchdowns, 71 points in fantasy. Defensively, and this will finish up the AFC NFC yearly awards race for the rookies and the players. Devin White, the middle linebacker from San Francisco, okay? 6'1", 240 pounds, 21 years young, out of LSU. This guy, 43 tackles and only 1 sack, okay? But here's the thing. He's got 10 interceptions, and 2 of them are touchdowns. He's a middle linebacker with hands. This guy's like the future Luke Kuechly, okay? Remember the name, Devin White, middle linebacker, San Francisco, okay? Scout that man on defense. Do not throw the ball in his direction, okay? Especially if you're in your own side of the field. He's got 2 touchdowns. I'd like to know from where on the field those touchdowns were. To be honest, I'm going to look into that. All right, that ends this one. I'm going to be back with my outro. Give a little plug to the Soden Bowl Network. Hope you enjoyed the show. I'm going to finish up here in just a second. All right, we're going to wrap this show up with my outro. What we talked about today on the show, we've covered some new things. We've kind of still kept to the script, so to speak. We talked about the players of the week, 1 through 9, the MVP race, Coach of the Year, the yearly awards race, and the rookie awards race for the AFC and NFC. Again, this is the Huddle, only on the Soden Bowl Network for and covering the league, Soden Bowl Sim League. I want to give a little bit of a shout out here to some of the community, starting with our guys here at the Sim League. Alpha touched on it a little bit, and I don't want to harp too much on it, but just, keep ahead of your scheduling. Keep the flow of the league going. Don't be afraid to step up and say, hey, yeah, I want to put my game out there. I want to show my skills. I want to go against the best of this league, and I want people to see it. Or if you want to be a guy behind the scenes and want to do graphics or help production, or if you're good with videos or video editing or things, things like that, hit one of us up, let us know, get that done. Special shout out, of course, to our affiliates, League Crawler. We are the 2018 MVP League of the Year. Also shout out to Daddy Leagues, the Madden Accord, the Grown Folks League, the OMFL, and of course, big shout out to some of our Twitter followers. Of course, the Hard Count for Blitz Football League. Also, Doug Flutie's the Maximum Football. Please be a patron to that. Support that. Get that going. Alpha also talked about that. I know I follow his tail a lot because he's more into the community than myself, and I just like to reiterate what and who we're affiliated with. Get their name out there. Help us help them. That's the way it works, man. That's why it's called a community. Last but not least, Axis Football. They're doing great things, too. They're coming up with big things every day. So, of course, they're always looking for the support as well. This has been another great podcast for me. I'm looking forward to doing some of these things. Give me some of your ideas. If you guys maybe are around and want to record something, or like I said, I'm always down to have someone help me do slides because it saves me some time because I do this on my day that I'm home and have availability here. So it's like a one-shot deal. But I do my best. I try my best. I thank everyone for the support. Come check us out, of course, at the SodenBowl.com. And check us out there, /welcome for you guys who want to join us. Check out the Soden Bowl points page. We have rewards going on here where you can upgrade players. Check that information out. Of course, we have a bunch of the shows coming. We have the Unfiltered episode 2 that just dropped recently. This is my second episode of the Huddle. Every Thursday night, we usually have a pretty cool guest on for the Soden Bowl Network, and of course the Soden Bowl Radio, so to speak, the live show that Sean Soden does. And again, shout out to that man for all that he does for us. I can't say much more. I think I wrapped it up on this one. This has been a great episode for me, episode 2. This is Big Al, and I'm out.